Shalom, shalom, Israel's brother Zabayala,
Brother Marcos.
coming back at you with another cold cut. Like to give our honor and glory and praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, coming back at you with another cold cut through the Spirit, giving you some history on this mighty Sunday morning for those who are up, for those that want to be edified, for those that want to learn more about this history, connecting it back to our book, the scriptures, the Bible, right? We giving out this edification through the Spirit. And as always, when we do give out this edification, we gotta validate it. We gotta go into some sources, go into the history, right? We giving out this edification, so I can go into some history, right? Just validating the scriptures, and helping bridge those gaps between time periods. You may wonder, why did the Roman Empire last so long? What is the Roman Republic? What is the Roman kings, and how did they transition to the Roman Empire? If the Roman Empire fell, what is the Byzantine Empire? Is it different from the Eastern Roman Empire? So, shalom to brothers on the comment board, Larry Ross. So there's a lot of different sections that go into this. Bridging. We call it bridging the gaps. We went into the Hasmonean dynasty last week. How did we jump from Malachi to Matthew, right, into the intertestamental period, right? How do we So that's why we have to go into the history to kind of link those gaps and bridge that time together. So now when you got a time period, you understand the time periods, you're gonna understand the scriptures a lot more. It's gonna be easier to visualize what's going on, with different accounts being brought out, who lived during what time. So that's why we have to go into these we have to go into the history, man. So this is going to be the Roman series. So what is a 5-part series? We still got to go to the Roman kings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was a 5-part series that we're going to do. 4 or 5-part series we're going to do, going into the Roman Empire, man, and its extent, and what happened during that time. You're going to see a lot of similarities between America and Rome. All right, let me get this precept real quick. Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2 in the NLT. Right, and it says, when the ungodly are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked are in power, they groan. So we understand that Esau, when the massive Alexander the Free came on the scene, we understand that, guess what? More evils came upon the earth. But now, since the Romans are in play, those are more Edomites. They're not different from the Greeks. They're just different. They're just Edom. They're still Edomites, and they're still the wicked. So guess what? When the wicked are in power, you have people groaning. You're gonna see how they had civil wars. Right? You're gonna see how people were still protesting. You have people protesting. Damn, 2,500 years ago, man, 2,400 years ago, about the same things. Nothing's new under the sun. So you're going to see a lot of similarities between Babylon, right, this American system, and the Roman system through the Spirit. But you got it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I want to go to Revelation, the 17th chapter.
Okay.
Right, I want to go to the 17th chapter. Find this quick precept, and that's right. And you want to namely go into the Roman Empire because, we're living in modern day Rome. So what you want to do is you want to compare the state of America with ancient Babylon, because not ancient Babylon, but ancient Rome. How Rome moved, then the spirit behind it with the sentencing. How we're gonna go into it, Lord willing. That's a lot of similarities with America. So I want to go to Revelation chapter 17 and verse number. I believe that's verse. I'm gonna start at verse 7. No, yeah, context out of verse 7. Is it on the screen or? It's not shown on this side.
What the screen or Slack you?
Yeah,
Can I hear you? Okay, yeah, I'll roll it up.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it out. It's Revelation 17 and verse number 7. And the angel said unto me, wherefore dost thou marvel? I will tell thee a mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and the 10 horns. the beast that thou sawest was and is not. This beast is speaking about the Roman Empire. All right, the Roman people, right? The Roman Republic, Imperial Rome, the Roman Empire, Eastern and Western Rome. The Roman, society and nation as a whole, it's a direct reflection of how America is today. So when we go into the Roman Empire, you're going to see a lot of similarities with America and with Rome, and while Babylon the Great is compared to as Rome on a high level. It says, verse 8 again, the beast which thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, because Rome it was, meaning it was in the past. It said the beast that was and is not, because during the time of John and the disciples, the Roman Empire was, but according to the prophecies, is not here anymore. It says, and it is. But yet, even though it's not here anymore, it really is here, because it came back as America, as Babylon the Great, through all the same, devices and the taxation and the division, everything that you see in Rome, the Colosseums and the sports, and from the physical things to the spiritual things, it's all back in America. So again, when we're going over this, you're going to see how much of a spitting image it is of America today. But you got it.
Con, go to the book of Daniel, chapter 7. We're breaking it down through history, through different empires, man. We're going through it for you, the prophecies. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, and I'll start at verse 3. So Daniel seen a vision or an idea of all the kingdoms, right? And it says, of all the kingdoms that will rule, not everybody got to see these prophecies, but it says, Daniel spake and said, I saw my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse from one another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and the man's heart was given unto it. And that was the Babylonians, the Babylonian Empire. Hey, we even went all the way back down to Egypt, the Assyrians, the Babylonians. And guess what? Verse 5, and another beast, a second like to a bear, and raised himself up on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it, the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. Hey, guess what? We went into the Persian and the Medes, right? In the battles that they, how the Persians defeated the Medes, right? In the battles they had to win, with their three ribs, going to the Lydian Empire, going into the Babylonians, right? The Battle of Apis, right? The Egyptians. We went into that, right? Through the spirit. Now, verse 6, and this I beheld, and lo, one another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings like a fowl. The beast had also four heads, and dominion was given unto it. And that's the Greeks, right? That leopard going into Alexander the Great, conquering in no more than 12 years, right? Verse 7, and after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. The iron teeth represents its military, right? It devoured and break in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And you know where these 10 horns come from. It comes from Rome, right? Because the European Union comes out of Rome. And we're going to start, when we get into it, you're going to see how they even conquered some of these nations. Gaul, which is France, right? Spain, right? They conquered these nations. Britannia, they conquered these nations. And then you have the 10 horns, which comes out of Rome, right? These prophecies link up, but as you can see through the spirit, we're breaking it down. So without further ado, we can hop into it. All right, we can pull up your article first, King. We can pull up your article first, King.
It was the Etruscan one. You can zoom in a little bit, sure. So you got something called the Etruscan civilization. Now, the Etruscan civilization was one of the chief and main civilizations that ruled or that had a dwelling within, Italy or Rome in that area. The Aegean Sea, or the Aegean Sea and all that area. You had the Etruscan civilization. Now the Etruscans go back to the Japhites, the ancient Japhites. During that time, you had the Etruscans, you had the Mycenaeans, the Minoans around that area, and it's another one that's slipping my mind. But these nations are actually Japheth. These are melanated, dark races. Now, I want to get this quick precept because according to prophecy, the Lord He gave Japheth the isles of the Gentiles. I believe that's Genesis chapter 10.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Genesis, let me get this real quick. It's Genesis chapter 10 and verse number, start at verse 1. Now these are the generations of Noah, of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, and Madiah, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Raphath, and Togarmah, right? And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. These are the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families and their nations. So Shem, or not Shem, Japheth, they dwell on amongst the coasts and the ports of certain land masses, and they had the isles of the Gentiles. So we read about the Etruscans and these ancient Japhetic nations. These were actually melanated people. So the original Romans, right, weren't actually so-called white people. The original Romans are actually, again, Japhites, melanated people. You can go back to the article.
Calm.
And we're going to let you know the beginnings of the Roman Republic and how the Roman Republic actually kicked out the Japhites out of this area. The same way, similar to how you had something called the Greek Dark Ages, where the so-called white man during the 7th century kicked out the Japhites out of Greece and that area over there and overcame, right? So it says the Etruscan civilization was a civilization created by the Etruscans, a people who inhabited Etruria and ancient Italy. So these people, they actually inhabited ancient Italy before the foundation, during the time of leaders, during the time, David on the scene, Solomon, the earlier time periods of the kings, right? The 7th century, 8th century. Our fathers that was on the scene, the earlier kings who had the so-called Japhites were in this area. That's that time period. It says with a common language and culture, who formed the federation of the cities, the city-states. After conquering the adjacent lands, its territory covered at its greatest extent, roughly what is now Tuscany, western Umbria, and northern Lazio, as well as what are now Pro Valley, Imola, Romagna, right, southeastern Lombardy, South Vental, and western Campania. Now I'm gonna jump down to the highlighted part. It says the Etruscan civilization dominated Italy until it fell to the expanding Rome beginning in the late 4th century BC. As a result, the Roman Etruscan Wars, right? You got something called the Roman Etruscan Wars. It says Etruscans were granted Roman citizenship in 90 BC. And only in 27 BC, the whole Etruscan territory was incorrupted into a newly established Roman Empire. So that whole civilization literally got torn down by the so-called white man, right? And that's why we call the white man the devil. Because not only the so-called Black and Hispanic man was persecuted by the Romans, literally all nations have their dealings with Esau. All nations can have a story in what Esau did to their people, even the Japhites. That's why you don't see. That's why you got Japhites there in these different islands right now, because they get kicked out all the mainlands where they was at. Everywhere Esau is, Russia, Italy, Greece, and all these diverse areas. right? They got kicked out of there by the so-called white man, and they fled to these different islands that they had now, Hawaii and all these the islands. But that's a point I wanted on there though. So this is the foundation of the upcoming of the Roman Republic. And like I said, by the time you got to 27 BC, the whole Etruscan civilization was wiped out from that area. Right. And I want to get a quick precept on that as well. I want to go to Job. Actually, I want to go to Habakkuk, chapter 2. I'm going to go back at the second chapter. And verse number Habakkuk 2, and that's verse 5. Yeah, Habakkuk 2 and 5. It says, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, talking about the so-called white man, neither keepeth at home. Why? Because as we know, the so-called white man, he's supposed to be in the land of Edom. He's supposed to be dwelling in Mount Seir, somewhere within the mountains, the Caucasus Mountains, Mount Seir. He's supposed to be over there in that area. But as we know, Esau, he rebelled and he got his wings, he spread his wings to go into every place under the sun, murdering, rape, robbery, and murdering the whole earth. So the Lord said, neither keepeth he at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all peoples. So Esau, he gathers all nations. He's going to go out and search out the nation. He's going to gather you up, conquer you, take your land, take your title, because again, the original Romans were actually melanated people. All of a sudden, the so-called white man, now he's a Roman. Same thing in America. All of a sudden, he's the Americans, where the Gadites were here first. All right, the white man, he's the Russian, he's the Australian, he's the Great Britain, even though Jack ruled that area at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you go, he's just taking these names and just calling that as himself. Then all next thing you know, all the history get mingled up, and they don't even teach this at school. They don't teach about the ancient Etruscans. All right, the Masoans and the Mycenaeans. They don't teach these things. All they teach was, okay, you got the Greeks, white man, the Roman, white man, British, white man. Everything go back to the white man.
Right.
But we know, according to history, that it's not so. I got one more precept in Job 37.
Esau tell you he the first Hamite.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, they say Esau run South Africa now.
Yeah.
All right, you got Israelites coming out of South Africa calling themselves African. All right, he's the Moabite and the Ammonite. We watch these movies, he makes himself into the so-called white man now.
Right.
Chinese man. Let's go to Job 37 and verse 35. Slakia, Psalms. Psalms 37 and 35. Slakia. All right, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 37 and verse 35.
Oh, you said 37, right?
Yeah, 37 and 35.
Okay.
Right, and it reads, I've seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. So David said he's seen the wicked within great power. Again, the wicked, as we know, the chief wicked man upon this earth is the white man. And he spreads himself like a green bay tree. A green bay tree is not like a pine tree where it's all snugged up and it's tight. No, green bay tree, it spreads out its roots. That's how the so-called white man is. Wherever you go on this earth, he's damn just spread out all over the place. The white man took over Russia. The white man is in Africa right now as we speak. Not only is he in South Africa, but he conquered all of Africa. All right, the Brins and that coalition, that division that they had where they divided up Africa. They took the Americas. Everywhere you go, you will see a so-called white man. Because according to prophecy, he spread himself like a green bay tree, which is why he was able to take over the damn Etruscans and that whole civilization. All right, but you can go back to the article. That was pretty much all I had on the article, though. Just the foundation. Okay.
Yeah, Esau can't stay at home. Esau takes things, right? It's Micah 2:2. And they covet. I start verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity, right, which is sin, and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. So Esau, he practices evil just because he can. Esau will kill you just because he's able to. That's how Esau gets down. Esau takes over them nations through his sword as the Lord commanded, just because it's in the power of his hand. Just because something's in the power of your hand, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean you get to enact whatever you want to do. They say a person that has things in the power of their hand and they show restraint, that's a person that has more self-control, that's more dangerous. Esau is just a freak with power, man, a base man with power. Verse 2. And what this is what they would do. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. So they'll oppress you, man. Right? They oppress your heritage. What do you think they did with Gad? I mean, we was teaching Gad this last weekend, and we was bringing out some history they never heard, and they didn't really care. They walking up and down. They just wanted to look at Chicago in their Gadite dresses. Right? Why? Because Esau pressed the hell out their heritage. They don't even want to speak their language anymore. Esau took that away from them, took this whole land. Hey, guess what? He did that with the Etruscans. The Etruscans are a witness to what happened to Gad and Reuben, you know? But I can hop into this article if you're done with the last one.
Oh yeah.
So the Roman Republic was from 509 to 527 BCE. Oh, yeah, BC, right? So kind of getting an overview, what was the Roman Republic? It was a state that it was right after the period of the kings too. The period of the kings is basically when the Roman kings, right before that point, when they were warring, you had, like I said, you had the Etruscan wars. You had different wars over there in the east by Great Britain, Rome for that land until they established a Senate or a state. Right, Tarquin was actually the last Roman king in 509 BCE, and that it was established of the Roman Empire, or Roman Empire 27 BCE, when Octavian was given the name Augustus and made princeps. But before that point, the Roman Republic was on the scene, and there was no emperor during the Roman Republic. You may think that there was no emperor. It was controlled by something that America has today, which is called the Senate, and we're going to get into it. We are going to get into it. All right, and it says the Roman Republic in a preceding regal period, which is this 753-509, are the most poorly documented periods of Roman history. So these points, these dates, Slakia, are the most poorly documented periods of Roman history. The historical writing in Rome did not begin until the late 3rd century, right? Historically, writing in Rome did not begin until the late 3rd century, when Rome had already completed its conquest of Italy, established itself as a major power of the ancient world, and became involved in a gigantic struggle with Carthage for the control of the West Mediterranean, right? The Battle of Carthage. You had a lot of battles that were, because remember, Rome, they were coming from the east. I mean, from the they were pushing east, pushing west, right? Coming from the did I say that backwards?
No, yeah, they coming from the east, from Italy and Rome, and they push west to
Yeah,
Africa.
they're pushing west towards Africa and towards Israel and towards towards
Greece.
towards the Levant. So they had a lot of battles that were happening during that time, right? The earliest Roman histories were brief resumes of facts and stories, but gradually historians embellished the sparse factual material, such as a list of annual magistrates from the beginning of the Republic onward, right? Because they elected officials, they elected magistrates. So this is what happened. This is Esau for you. Since they had poor documented history, all right, since they had poor documented history on how their actual empire started, this is what Esau likes to do, right? Stay locked in for 2 seconds, right? And it says, such as the list of annual magistrates from the beginning of the Republic onward, religious records, and the text of some laws and treaties were both native and Greek folklore. So basically, since they didn't have a lot of documentations, they said we got to make up something. We gotta get into something called folklore, right? Folklore. The traditional beliefs, customs, and stories of community passed through generations by word of mouth. Mythology, legends, fables. What's a fable? Right? It's a myth and a legend. It's not real. A false statement or belief. So Esau had to come up with false statements and beliefs. They had to come up with folklores because they didn't really have accurate documentation on how they even started what they started. All they knew is they slew people with the sword, and they said, "Oh well, now we have a republic, so we need a backstory." You know, Esau always got to have a backstory. You got it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not to believe Esau really know what happened. You know, you talk about the dinosaurs and how they was alive billions of years ago. They Esau know everything, but all of a sudden, when it comes to his history and the foundation of his history, they just lost it. How do you have the history on the Etruscans, but you don't know the time period of how y'all overthrew them? Y'all know about the wars, but y'all don't really know in depth. So Esau, he really know what's going on. You know, Esau, he'll go back to Nimrod and he go back to all these ancient civilizations. And again, he talk about dinosaurs. How the hell do you know about dinosaurs and how they looked? And you never seen one in person. You got all these, you know, quote unquote, so-called facts. Earth has been here for billions of years, and man came from monkeys, and monkeys came from fish after the earthquake, and all type of madness. But you don't know what your history lies in. So you know
How they know this?
that's madness, man.
How they know this?
Yeah, the oldest rock on. That's crazy.
Y'all measuring rocks?
Just throwing out years.
They throwing out. Look, they made this word up. What is this? What language is this? Where is this from? But y'all can't tell me. Y'all had to make up folklores and Greek folklores. But y'all know how. Wow.
That's mad.
See, look, it gets worse. It says consequently, over time, historical facts about early Rome suffer from patriotic reinterpretation involving exaggerations of the truth. Just call it how it is. It's a lie.
Yeah,
I just exaggerated a little bit. No, you lied.
Right.
What do you mean exaggerations of the truth? And it says the suppression of embarrassing facts and invention. Yeah, tell them how you committed incest. During the dark ages, y'all used to throw y'all feces out the window, and y'all had no sewer systems. These are all Esau's embarrassing facts. They have tails. Y'all didn't shave. Y'all stank. Y'all used to bray in among the nettles, as Job said in Job chapter 30.
Right.
Y'all used to howl to the moon. These are the facts, the embarrassing facts that they want to hide. And we're gonna get into some fables. We're gonna get into some fables, but I'm gonna keep reading on.
That's madness.
That's wild. They put it out there, and Jake would still be, well, you know, I gotta see what Esau, I gotta see what the so-called white men say about it. They telling you they lied to you, and you still wanna validate the scriptures with Esau.
So like, when you say exaggerated facts to your parents, that's you trying to, like, you know that you lying, but you don't want to tell them that, so you kind of tell them, you know, it was the truth, but it was only part of it. But they really know you lying. They just say how it is. But when it comes to the white man, like you said, Jake, he'll let it slide. And well, it is the truth, you know. They did exaggerate it, but I'll get down with it. These are the same people that made Christianity. But you got it. It is madness.
Same people. Well, you know, we all lie sometimes. Jake always just make an excuse. We all gotta lie sometimes, you know. So you can't really blame. Man, Jake, right. They are liars. But when we bring out the truth, it just can't be the truth. But
right.
We're gonna keep going into it. Early government. It says the two councils who had come to replace the king, right, were primarily generals whose task was to lead Rome's armies in war. So you had generals, right, that were part of the councils, right, the early government, and these councils will help establish the Senate. right? It says in times of military emergency, when unity of command was sometimes necessary, Rome appointed a dictator in the place of the consuls, who, however, could not hold supreme military command for longer than 6 months. So if there was a war, they will appoint a dictator, for only about what six months at a time. They couldn't really hold that office, and that's when we're going to get into Julius Caesar, right? But it says the Senate, which may have existed under the monarchy and served as an advisory council for the king, now advised both magistrates and the Roman people, right? The Senate, right, was wealthy people, right? Although in theory the people were sovereign and the Senate only offered advice, in actual practice, let's see how powerful these people were. The Senate wielded enormous power because of the collective prestige of its members, because they were wealthy, right? That's the same thing today. You think your president, you think Joe Biden and Donald Trump actually gets to make decisions? If they make a decision right now to go to war, the Congress can say, no, we're not going to war. The Congress actually has the power to go to war. If the president says, I want to give reparations to African Americans, the Senate has to vote, and the House of Representatives has to vote on that. If one of them comes up short, that bill is cooked. That bill is not going through. Hey, damn, they came up with the crime bill to put Jake in jail. Guess what? It went through the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the judicial branch. And all of them agreed to put you in jail, Jake. All of them. Not one man. Over 500 people. All of them. Well, it was Joe Biden. It wasn't just Joe Biden. It was all them Edomites, even the names you don't know, you've never heard of before. They voted against you. That's how the Senate works. They wield enormous power. Your president can't save you. All right, but we're going to keep bringing it out. They don't notice. Jake just think it's just the president all day. Kamala Harris, she wasn't doing nothing. It's the Senate, right? And it says, during the Republic, there were two different popular assemblies, the Centuriate Assembly and the Tribal Assembly. The Centuriate Assembly was military in nature. So this is the military branch of the Senate, right? If they want to go to war, they kind of, go to this side. It voted on war and peace and elected all those magistrates who exercise imperial military power. That's like your Congress, right? The Tribal Assembly was a non-military civilian assembly that elected those magistrates who do not exercise imperium. It did most of the legislating and sat at court for serious public offenses. Like, this is the law. This is the legislative branch. This is the laws, where the laws come from for like the civilians, jaywalking, stop signs, traffic lights. That was that, right? Let me actually get another article too, kind of diving into that. I think this one right here. This is what I want. All right, here it is. Right. Also kind of diving into like the origin of the Roman Republic. Right. So the Roman Republic, as you know, is one of the earliest examples of representative democracy in the world. Right. And it says the Roman Republic describes the period in which the city-states of Rome existed as republic government from this, 509 of 27. Rome's republican government is one of the earliest examples of representative democracy in the world, right? And like the brother went into it, the Etruscan kings who lived nearby in central Italy ruled Rome, right? And then you had the wars that happened during that time, and they were overthrown, right? Now, Rome's wealthiest citizens established a republican government by creating a various assemblies of Roman citizens. So nothing's changed. The wealthy sit in power. So, Jake, why would they have your best interest? They don't even have the lower level Edomites' best interest. It's the wealthy that sit in power. That they take your tax dollars. Nothing's new under the sun. Well, we got to get rid of these politicians. The system is designed that way, and you're not changing that, right? It says, Con.
It's like Rook. I was gonna say, yeah, Jake. It's a new thing ever since this thing about Trump being in office. It's a new thing that Jake, he's trying to get all the politicians and the governors in the city, turn them all black, and overthrow the whole the government system and the governor of your state system. Jake, that's not gonna work. Like the brother said, it's their system. They know what they're doing. They set up who they want to set up. Just because you vote for a so-called black man, and guess what? His mindset is going to be as the heathens. And he's going to do what's best in their interests. So all that, okay, let's overthrow the government system from the inside out. Let's infiltrate it slowly. Do you really think they're going to let that happen as if they don't see that? You know, even though we call Esau the base man, you know, he's not that base. You know, he's base, but he's just not gonna let a nigger overthrow him overnight. That's his mind. He's not gonna let a so-called a Negro and a black man or Hispanic get in office in every state and slowly infiltrate the whole Babylonian system inside out. That's a damn movie. That's a Hollywood movie. You know, she got it.
Hey, I learned from an elder, and the elder was speaking wisdom. He said all his life, you know, he used to think Esau was stupid because it was a base man. He said Esau's not stupid, he's slow. But once he catches on to what you're doing, then he starts to destroy. Esau not stupid, he just slow to get. See, Jake is quick with it. Jake can think on the spot. You can read that about, you know, all throughout the precepts. Jake is quick with it. He knows how to finagle himself out of situation. Esau has to sit there and meditate. That's why Esau has plans for hundreds and hundreds of years ahead, because they just sit there and meditate. They're slow, but once they catch on, then it's destruction. Then it's, you know, the beast. So they're not, see, Esau, they're not stupid. They're, like you said, they're not gonna let a Jake sit there, you know, and overthrow the system. And you know, you got people trying to overthrow the government. They're not letting you do that, Jake. Even right. They give you guns, and they give you the guns that, you know, that's been out there for years already. So they're slow, they're not stupid, right? But it says, and listen to this. Rome's wealthiest citizens established a republican government by creating various assemblies of Roman citizens. These assemblies decided important matters for the city on behalf of its population. The early Republican Senate, isn't Donald Trump a Republican? It says clearly held a bias towards interest of wealthy citizens. Your president, and we're always going to connect it to America, he's a businessman. He wants to help businesses. Jake, you working that 9 to 5 for 80 hours a week, he doesn't have your best interest. The people he's cutting taxes for, you have never seen that amount of money in your life, man. That's what he's for. He's for the people that's making 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million a year, $100,000 a year. We barely surviving off 3 checks. Their bias is toward the people that's running corporations, man. They don't care about you. So guess what? It's gonna go into what? The protests that they had outside the city walls. Don't they have protests to this very day? Didn't they just shut down the freight on the East Coast because they weren't getting paid enough? And guess what? That contract, when they shut down those freights, that's only to January 1st. You thought everything was okay? You got 1 month. They got 1 month to figure it out. Or guess what? There's going to be protests outside the city walls. But we can get there. And it says, after all, only members of the patrician class could hold office. Therefore, the plebeians, who made up the majority of the soldiers in the Roman army, the soldiers in the Roman army are just your average Joes. Those are your guys that just fought for the Roman army. They understood that they weren't part of the wealthy, so guess what? They staged protests. This conflict led to the establishment of other legislative bodies, such as the Concilium Plebis or the Council of Plebs, the Comitia Centuriata, and the Comitia Tributa, or the tribal assemblies. This is like your Democratic Party. Your Democratic parties, for the more impoverished. All right, in the Council of Plebs and tribal assemblies, laws will be passed based on the discussion of important issues that took place in the Senate. Their senators recommended which policies to implement. So these are all these policies, man. Let me go to the book of Daniel 11 and 24. Even the Greeks had policies. Right? Daniel chapter 11 verse 24. So there's nothing new under the sun. They're for the rich. They're not for you. You're going to protest and ain't nothing going to happen. Right? It's Daniel 11 and 24. He shall enter peaceably upon the fattest places of the province. talking about Antiochus, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. And he shall stir up his power and encourage against the king of the south. See what I want. Talking about his policy shall prosper in his hand. Am I reading right over it? Let me see.
Daniel 8.
That's Daniel 8. I'm tweaking. It's Daniel 8.
8:25.
Okay, here it is. Yeah, I'm looking. All right, it's Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25. And through his policy, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He also shall stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And this is all Esau, man. The Greeks, the Romans, they deal with their policies. They deal with laws that they write grievous laws, right? As it says in Isaiah 10:1, they write these things with the stroke of their pen, and that's how they cause their wickedness to prosper on the earth, right? Through their policies and through their laws, right? And that's what was going on. And Judas Maccabees and Jonathan, they took note of that. Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 8. Right? They took note. They never seen anything like it before. Right, I think there's an echo on your end, King.
Yeah. Okay.
This First Maccabees chapter 8 and 1. Now, this is towards the end of the Roman Republic, right? It's around 160, 150, 140 BC or so, right? It's towards the end, right? But it's still the Roman Republic. They're still coming up on the scene. Why? Because it says now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them. Right? They were taking anybody in, right? Because there were people coming out of the west, pushing east, and that they were men of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done amongst the Galatians, right? And how they conquered them and brought them under the tribute, talking about the Etruscans, right? And the wars over there. And what they had done in the country of Spain for the winning of their mines of silver and gold, which is there. And that by their policy and patience, they had conquered all that place, though it were very far from them. And the kings also that came against them from the uttermost parts of the earth, till they had discomfited them and had given them a great overthrow, so that the rest did give them tribute every year. So through their policy and patience. And that's what we're reading about in the Senate, right? Is that they, through their policies, through their laws, that they are right, really for the wealthy. That's how they gained a lot of power, right? That's how they gained a lot of power. And it says, actually jump down to verse 13. And it says also that whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign, and whom again they displaced finally, that they were greatly exalted. Yet for all this, none of them wore a crown, because a Senate, none of them wore a crown. Everybody dictated each power. It's called checks and balances. Everybody checked and balanced everybody's power, or was clothed in purple to be magnified thereby, right? Moreover, how they had made for themselves a Senate house. That's what we're reading. That's in the Bible, that the Romans had a Senate house, and we're going into the history. So how is this Bible not real? It's telling you, it's giving a gameplay on how these Edomites work. You can learn about politics in the Bible, right? And it says, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, just like your House of Representatives, just like your Senate, consulting a way for the people, to the end that they may be well ordered, and that they committed their government to one man every year. That's like your president, right? Who ruled, it was every year. Now it's every 4 years, but back then it was every year, right? Who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation against them. So they made a president, and then they had checks and balances saying what the president can and can't do. They've never seen nothing like it before. This is a new thing to them, right? This is a very, very new thing to them. But that's in the Bible. So when we're reading this, and go back, when we're reading this, they had a Senate, man, right? So let's read on. So this is the early stages of the Roman Republic. This is who they are. This is what they do, right? The Senate and assemblies work together to appoint executive officials called magistrates, enacted laws, and sought to increase Rome's. So the magistrates were like your presidents, to increase Rome's territorial holdings throughout the Italian peninsula. The Roman Republic began to engage in wars with its neighboring rivals, slowly eliminating threats to its superiority in the Mediterranean. By 1st century BCE, the Roman Republic stood alone as the dominant power in the Mediterranean region. And we know how they did it, through their policy and patience, right? Making laws, making people to engulf into the Roman Republic, like you brought out with the Etruscans, right? They incorporated themselves in the Roman Empire, and they were granted Roman citizenship through their policies, right? So nothing is new under the sun. But you got it.
You go to the next article. I wanted to touch on the Punic Wars if you had. That was it on that. Right. And like the brother going into that's right. That's what we said earlier. In America to this day. That's why we brought out Revelation, the 17th chapter. To know that Rome, even though anymore, yeah, it's the one right here. Even though Rome isn't here anymore, yet it is still here because you see it through America. It's modern day magistrates and it's modern day Senate House, the Republicans and all these different things. Democrats, all these things dealing with the people. The power to the people. I believe that to the republic, to the word republic, it deals with giving back to the people, if I'm not mistaken. Or giving power to the state, something to that effect. Right? But again, that's the same spirit of America today. So within the Roman Republic, you had certain generals and certain chief men that you know about within the Roman Republic. One of those chief generals is Scipio Africanus. Now, you might have heard about this name by brothers on the highways and byways. You may have heard about the Second Punic Wars. And this man ruled during the time, or was a chief general during the time of the Roman Republic. All right, this man actually took down Hannibal during the Second Punic War. All right, Leo Scipius Africanus took down Hannibal in the Second Punic War. Now, one of the Punic Wars, as we first went over, Etruscans. You said what?
I ain't said nothing.
Okay, Con. You have the Etruscans. They got taken out. Then you begin to have more wars breaking loose throughout this time. And one of the wars that you have is the 3 Punic Wars. Now, I really want to touch on the second one because the second one actually deals with Hannibal, who was a Jake, right? And I'm going to show that, Lord willing. So let's touch on Leo Scipio. Mind you, this is one of the chief Roman generals that, quote unquote, go down in history for defeating one of the greatest military men of all time, Hannibal. Right? Some would say. So this is Leo Scipius Africanus. All right, from Liternum, Campania, was a Roman general noted for his victory for Carthage. Right? Leader Hannibal in the great battle of Zama, ending in 202 BC, the Second Punic War. For his victory, he won surname Africanus because after he took down Africa, he actually named his name after that, which is off. All right, that's prideful. So he took down Africa and named his name Africanus. I believe his original name started with a P. I can't remember Oh, here we go, right here. Publius, right? Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus, right? And then he didn't always have that Africanus at the end of it. He kind of added that after he took over Hannibal, which is, again, that's extremely prideful. Took down a nation and you named it your last name, right? But you can scroll down a little bit, right? So this is just a little bit, of the background of it. I'm not going to read, this whole article. You can scroll down a little bit more, right? Kind of want to get the main points. When he touched on, I'm gonna read this, right? It says military career. According to Livy, Scipio served as a young man, right, military tribune at the Distraught, right, Distraught battle of Canaan in 216 BC.
It says disastrous.
Just like a disastrous, right? He escaped after he defeated Canusum, right? Modern day Canosa di Pogalia. I kind of left the screen. Right, modern day Pogalia, Italy, where some 4,000 survivors rallied. Right there, he boldly thwarted a plot of some faint hearts to desert Rome. Right, then in 213, he returned to a civilian, right, career by winning the position of higher, right, of curua, right, curua higher at Ely. The story is told that the tribunes objected to his candidature because he was under a legal age. He replied, if the Roman people want to make me a lady, right, which is ruler or higher, I am old enough. Soon my family and national disaster followed. His father and uncle were defeated and killed in Spain, where the Carthaginians swept forward to Ebro River. Now, it's a part in this article where he talked about Hannibal and the overthrow of Hannibal. But nevertheless, when you go into Hannibal is actually an Israelite when you go into it. Come from Phoenice, right? From the Phoenician land, as we know as the land of Canaan, the land of Israel. And he was given that title Semitic. Where is it at? No, I want to go into the part where they kind of called him Semitic. I may be reading over it, right? Yeah, you could you might have to type that in and being Semitic. Nevertheless, you didn't just have Israelites within, the Hasmonean dynasty. As we went over last week, during the Grecian period, where the Greeks reigned and they had to rule, we was in captivity, and we formed something called the Hasmonean dynasty. But also, as we know that Israel is scattered abroad, you also had Hannibal during this time, the 3rd or 2nd century, where Hannibal, he actually blew up Carthage in the northern part of Africa as well. And they also got overthrown as well. You can actually exit out of this and you can type in real quick Hannibal Phoenician or Hannibal Semitic. So that shows that Israel is scattered all abroad. And no matter where you at, Israel, you will be overthrown if you're breaking God's commandments. All right, you will be overthrown. The Lord took the Greeks, overthrew the down Hasmonean dynasty, finished it off with the Romans. Then the Romans went all the way to North Africa and took down Hannibal and those Israelites up there as well. And of course, they got him painted as a so-called, white man, which is off. Right.
Oh, hey, too. When you go into it, there's a book called Hebrewisms of West Africa, and they will tell you the Carthaginians were actually the Phoenicians or the Canaanites that got pushed out of that land, that got kicked out of that land, and they went all over into northern Africa, and into Libya, into Italy, into Spain, and that's like you said, that's where Hannibal actually comes from. They'll tell you that during the time of Joshua, during that conquest, They actually got kicked out of that land, and they've been over there in Greece. They've been over there in Spain ever since.
See that?
And that's where he actually comes from. The battle. We can go into the Carthaginians. When you read the book of Hebrews and West Africa, it's going to tell you that.
Huh? See that? Now you press the first one, little one, and then say it on there.
Which one? Right here?
Or
this?
Yeah, that one right there. All right, it says, I want to get to the point. Right, where we touch on him being a so-called Phoenician. Right. And you want to have discernment too, because as we know, the Phoenicians, they are, Hamites and Canaanites. All right, I believe that's where it is, right? That area right there. Right. Even though the Phoenicians, they go back to Ham, yet it says Semitic. Who's Semitic? The Israelites, they're Semitic. So it says Hannibal was a common Semitic Phoenician Carthaginian. Why is it Phoenician? Because that land Phoenice goes back to the land of Israel. That was the name given to it by the Greeks. The land of Canaan, right? The land of Phoenicians, the land of Israel. So that's where the Carthaginians are from. But yet again, it says Semitic because who's Semitic? The Israelites that dwell in that land, they're a Semitic race, a Semitic nation. Hannibal was a common Semitic Phoenician Carthaginian personal name. It is recorded that Carthaginian sources as Punic, right? It is a combination of the common Phoenician masculine given name Hano with the northern Semitic Canaanite deity Baal, which means Lord, a major god of the Carthaginians' ancestral homeland of Phoenicia and Western Asia, right? So that's all I wanted to touch on that quick point. So when Leo Scipius Africanus, one of the Roman generals, he came and he conquered Africa. He conquered Ham, and he conquered the part of the small part that still knew that they was Israel. That small section in northern Africa, and that shows that Jake, you can't get away. Again, he was captive under the Greeks and under the Romans, and then they kind of went westward, and they then captured you again and the rest of your people. So that's a quick point that I wanted to bring out as well with Leo Scipius Africanus. So during the Second Punic Wars, Jake, he was still getting oppressed. He was still getting overthrown. And we go into that war, they said that Hannibal, he really wanted to conquer Sicilia or Sicilia, but that was already occupied by the Romans. So that's what kind of led that clash with the Second Punic War, and Hannibal wanted to take down Sicilia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's
I should say.
And like I said, it makes sense because the Carthaginians, they go back to what you said, Canaanites, and they was fighting over northern Africa, and that's where the Carthaginians were at during that time, was northern Africa. A lot of them during the Dark Ages too. During the Dark Ages, a lot of those Hamitic nations were actually Phoenicians or Semitic. Actually, you have the Shemites, which were our people, the Jews. But you also had, these Canaanites that were dominating trade during that time as well. Not to get off topic, but you had a lot of those Carthaginians or those Canaanites that got pushed out by Joshua, and they've been dwelling in Spain. They've been dwelling in Italy ever since. We got scoffers on the dam, or we got distractions on the comment board. What's going on, man? What's going on, man? We trying to bring out the history. And you got brothers like Larry Ross trying to learn. And I guess you got brothers being distractions, but it's all good. We're going to get right back into it because Satan can't stop this history from coming out, man. You can't stop this history, man. And it all links up. It all makes sense. Hey, fun fact. Leo Scipius Africanus, his brother actually defeated Antiochus in the Battle of Magnesia, which actually brought down the Greek Empire in 146 BC, man.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that. I was gonna bring out the Battle of Corinth too, 146 BC.
I was like the Battle of Magnesia was the battle before that, which was a big battle, which is a very decisive battle, which actually turned it down, turned the Grecian Empire downward. But Khan, you can continue on that, King.
Okay, Kanye, that was all I had on that specific article. I didn't send it to you, but you could just type in Battle of Corinth real quick.
I'm gonna get
Just,
this real quick. So
okay, is this what Carthage and
nah, this is just the expansion of Rome.
okay,
So the Cartagena is Spain right here. This is where the Carthaginians were mainly at, right? Spain, right? So remember, they got kicked out and they came all the way over here. This is Rome, right? And then you see the expansion of the Roman Republic in 201 BC. The green is the expansion of Rome, right? Conquering all of Italy, Sicily, right? Sardinia, Corsica, right? And all the isles of the Gentiles, right? Eventually, what then taking on Spain, eventually took down Gaul, right? Towards the end of the reign and towards the Roman Empire, Gaul was taken down. This Gaul is France, right? Macedonia, that was taken down, right? Asia, and they started pushing west, east. They started pushing eastward, and then that's when you started getting into northern Africa, right? With the Carthaginians, the Battle of Carthage, right? The Battle of Magnesia, right? That's when you start getting into those battles. But this is kind of how it looked before, around 201 BC. And this is the additions. This after they took down Spain, which we read in what First Maccabees, right? Where we just read that. And what they had done in the country of Spain for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold, which is there, it makes sense because what they did in Spain, Judas Maccabees heard about this. Our forefathers heard about the fame of the Romans when they took down Spain, and that's what propelled them to kind of make that league with them. Around 100 BC or so, or 150, 140 BC or so, right during the time of our fathers. But you say you want me to type in what?
you can just type in Battle of Corinth real quick. Showing these different battles, or these chief battles that the Romans had in order for them to come completely into power. You might have to type in Rome. Let's say 1862.
Oh damn. I'm gonna type in the Battle of Magnesia next.
Okay, right. So you got something called the Battle of Corinth, right? Now the Battle of Corinth. Oh, hold on.
I don't like Wikipedia, man.
Right. Yeah. You can zoom in a little bit. Let me watch my screen. It says in 146, the Battle of Corinth signified a defining moment in the history of ancient Greece, right? What we touched on last week. It says situated on the narrow strip of the land connecting the Polynesians to the mainland of Greece. Corinth was a city-state with a significant strategic and economic position. Right, its connections with the Aegean Sea, which we talked about earlier, that sea that Greece kind of borders with all those many islands within the midst of it, the Aegean Sea, right, and the connection with the Aegean and Adriatic seas made it center of trade and cultural exchange. However, this prosperity also placed Corinth in the heart of the conflict during the tumultuous period of Greek history, leading to be the fatal conflict known to the Battle of Corinth. And that battle is where the Greeks got overthrown by the Romans. So this is the Romans pushing eastward now. So they push westward into Corinth. I mean, not into Corinth. They push westward into Africa and Spain. Now they're pushing east into Greece and the Aegean Sea, Asia Minor, and that area over there. So this is the Roman Republic slowly but surely starting to expand, right? And we read how the Punic Wars, that was during the 2nd century, and now this is happening during the so-called the 1st century, well, the 3rd century with the Punic Wars, around 280 or so. Then the 2nd century around 146. So this is them slowly expanding eastward and westward, expanding the Roman Republic before entering into the Roman Imperial, where the first Caesar Augustus was set up. But that was a quick point I wanted on there. Just diving into that expansion.
And that shows the decline of the Achaean League or the Grecian Empire. because 50 years before, right around 50 years earlier, right, when we brought out Leo Scipio's Africanus, his brother actually fought Antiochus III, and Antiochus III, the great, he actually, hold on, let me pull this up real quick. Antiochus III the Great was right before Antiochus IV Epiphanes, right? So this is on the downward decline of the Greek Empire, and the Romans were coming into play, right? Damn Wikipedia. Let's get this. I mess with the Britannica, right? This is the Battle of Magnesia, right? Defeat of Antiochus. This is a grave defeat. This is what established the confidence of the Romans going into the Battle of Corinth 50 years later, right? It was a decisively defeated in the Battle of Magnesia near Mount Sipylus, where he fought with a heterogeneous army of 70,000 men against an army of 30,000 Romans and their allies, right? So now they're the ones with more manpower. You ever seen the movie 300? They had 300 men versus the thousands wars of Persians. Now they're the ones with the men, and guess what? The Romans were outnumbered, and guess what? The Romans actually won. Although he could have continued the war in the eastern provinces, he renounced all claim to his conquest in Europe, right? In Anatolia and Sunni Hellenistic age, 334, 30 BCE, at Thermopylae and afterward in Magnesia, not far from Sardis, Antiochus was forced to accept the peace of Apamea, right? They made a treaty, and Rome basically extorted, when you go into a Rome, basically extorted the Grecian Empire. They like, we need all of this, right? Which made Rome the predominant power in the Hellenistic East. They basically said, okay, y'all got the West and we got the East. We need this land. We need this land. We need this land. Look, Rome reorganized the Anatolian stage. Lycia, Caria were allotted to Rhodes though when this period of Rhodian domination ended, right? In Armenia, the Artaxias, right, Alexander III the Great, by Rome at the Battle of Magnesia, winter 190, 189 BC, his two Armenian satraps, Artaxerxes and Zeradrus, established themselves with Roman consent as kings of Greater Armenia and Sophony, respectively, thus became the creators of an independent Armenia, right? So basically, and then obviously we get into Hannibal, right? We get into Hannibal. And he was defeated, right? He kind of went into that. But yeah, man, this battle kind of helped establish the confidence of the Romans, because they took half of the Grecian Empire, and then later they took the rest of the Grecian Empire with the Battle of Corinth. So these battles and these men, it all lines up with the scriptures and all lines up with history and what happened, But Khan, I can go into. Oh, I wanted to go into this too. If you had nothing else, you had something else.
No, you got it,
Khan. So remember when we talked about? Let's go into it, because Esau, you thought we forgot. Esau thought we forgot already. What's that? Hold on. You can get back into it.
Are you going into the
lies?
Wolf.
The exaggerations. I'm gonna start saying that. I'm gonna tell you, next time you go to court, tell the judge you exaggerated to the police officer. I just exaggerated. Let me see. Let me pull it back up. There we go. Hold on. That's not it. I believe it was this article. Kind of refresh. Because I want to pull up some of the fables, because they have a fable. They have a what is it called? What they call it? A folklore. They got a folklore of how Rome actually started, right? With two wolves and the son of a demigod and the son of a god, right? And he was left as an orphan. It's madness. I ain't gonna lie, but we're gonna get into it, right? And I learned, and you know what's crazy? They teach this fable at a collegiate level. I was in college. They taught this in college. They taught the fables of Rome in college. Why do we need to know that? If it's not real, why am I learning this at a collegiate level, man? But we can't really know the truth. We teaching damn college level history class here, man. About the fables of Rome and the councils and the senates, All right, let me pull this back up. Here we go. Consequently, over time, historical facts about early Rome suffer from patriarchal reinterpretation involving exaggerations of the truth and the suppression of embarrassing facts and inventions. So let's get an example of that. Right? Let us get an example of that. Right? The legend of Romulus and Remus. The legend of Romulus and Remus. And look at this picture. That's off. Viewer discretion advised. Right? But it says, legend has it that Arsenio, son of Trojan hero Aeneas, son of Venus and Anchises, founded the city of Alba Longa on the right bank of the river Tiber. Many of Aeneas' descendants reigned the settlement peacefully. When Nimetor was king, his brother Amulius seized power and dethroned Nimetor, killing his male heirs and forcing his daughter Rhea Silvia to become a Vestal virgin so that she would not provide male heir to the throne. So he guess he made his sister a eunuch, right? That's weird, right? Nevertheless, Rhea Silva gave birth to twins, Romulus and Remus, whose father thought to be Mars, the god of war. So the god of war came down and laid with this woman who was supposed to be a virgin and had two demigods. This sounds like Greek mythology, right?
Sounds like
But
the white had his hand in
yeah, it sounds
this too.
like a lie. It sounds like a bold face lie. I mean, they're showing their
Yeah,
father's actions.
it's like, and I was gonna say, this is only a story that a white man could tell and get away with it. Like, it's madness. I mean, what
Legend.
other nation origins is anything close to this? God came down, laid with a woman, had two demigods, and it gives
Esau
verse.
talking.
You said what? You said what up?
Nah. I said I can imagine it. I said I can imagine it now. Esau talking with his glasses like this in a deep, nasty voice. Right?
Yeah,
That
it's like
deep, nasty voice.
how do you even come up with this? Because this is not believable at all. You came to school and your teacher told you to write some, they got those things where first day of school orientation, write some about yourself, where you come from and things of that nature. If someone came up to school and wrote something like this, they damn near get expelled. All right, your mother slept with a demigod. You was drinking from a wolf's breast and all type of madness and bestiality. But then Esau can do it, and no one condemns him for it. He gets no hate, no backlash from this. So this is madness. I mean, even the statue was off. That's madness. That's like bestiality.
Yeah. Yeah, it's off. Esau used to wear his watches like this. And he's telling stories and he's looking at you cross-eyed with his glasses right here. And he's saying, this is how we came about. And you come from wolves. And you got people eating this up. You got people writing it down. Oh my gosh, he's a scholar. No, he's a liar. Right? But let me read on. It says Armulius imprisoned the daughter and condemned the babies to death by the drowning in the river Tiber. Yeah, that sounds like Esau. However, the servant in charge of the task took pity on them, instead placed the twins in a basket and pushed them down the river Tiber. They were safely carried to the area of the Seven Hills. There, the boys were found by a she-wolf called Lupa. When I was reading this, who named the she-wolf Lupa? Like, how did they know it was called Lupa? Like, did the wolf say my name's Lupa? Like, how did they know that? How did they communicate that? Like, when you get a new dog, did the dog introduce himself? My name's Toady. This is a lie. Who nursed them in her lair in Palatine Hill until they were founded by a shepherd and his wife, who raised them as shepherds. As adults, Romulus and Remus were two natural-born leaders in a fight, killed King Amulius and reinstated Nimetor as king of Alba Longa. Seeking to establish their own settlement, Romulus finally built a wall around Palatine Hill, the location he had chosen for the founding of Rome. Now look at this. The she-wolf who nursed Romulus and Remus is said to have been their human foster mother. The term wolf In Latin, lupa was also used in a derogatory sense for the prostitutes of the time. So basically, they were saying, okay, well, it wasn't really a wolf. It was a harlot. We were raised by a whore. We were raised by a whore that taught us to be strong, mighty men. What do they do?
It's like, why would a god, right, the god of war from the third heavens, he's a god. Out of all the women he could get down with, he chose a whore, but got two sons. I mean, this is just madness.
No. The God laid down with the virgin, and the virgin gave them up, and they were founded by a whore.
Oh yes, yeah. That's confusion.
She was founded by so basically, while she was raising them, she was doing her thing. Wow, she was going out in the middle of the night and out of her lair. So this prostitute had a lair.
And who scribed out all this?
Yeah, who is there? We have a lot of questions.
What a scribe that's just documented.
So she introduced herself as Lupa, as a whore. Wow. And that's the story. And that's the damn story of Romulus, and and they killing each other. Romulus killed him, and it's just a lot of gore and just a lot of lies. They seen birds. It has nothing to do with anything. But this is another one too, the legend of Aeneas, and this one's not long, right? They kind of get straight to the point with this lie, right? And it says, according to another legend, the Trojan prince Aeneas reached the Italian coast and married Lavinia, the daughter of King Latinus, thus becoming king. The myth is not only told by Greek historians, but it's defended in Italy compared to other legends that gave Rome an Akkadian origin. Related to the myth of Evandro or Achaean, relating to Odysseus or Ulysses, the myth of Aeneas gives Rome a divine and Greek founding. Right. However, the tradition of the Trojan origin of Rome cannot be considered admissible if you compare the date of the destruction of Troy. So basically, they like this myth because it just gives them a founding. It gives them a start date. It gives them something to hold on to. They're holding on to lies. Let me get a precept. I'm tired of this. They're holding on to lies. And I'm led to believe they're still teaching this in classrooms in Italy right now. They're still teaching this in classrooms in Italy, right? If I'm learning this at a historically black college in Mississippi, I know they're learning this over there in Italy at their prestigious schools at Carthage, right? Jeremiah 16:19 in NLT. Lord, you are my strength and fortress, my refuge in the day of trouble. Nations from around the world will come to you and say, our ancestors left us a foolish heritage. Damn. For they worship worthless idols. Can people make their own gods? These are no real gods at all. Yeah, this is not a god. Where he at? Where is this guy at that laid down with a woman that's supposed to be a virgin? Where is he at? That damn war god.
In the second paragraph.
Mars, the god of war. This isn't a real god. That's a foolish heritage. A foolish heritage that two boys were damn sucking the teats of a damn wolf.
Right. Man, that's off. And what's kind of crazy is that's not far-fetched from Esau at the same time. That seemed like some Esau get down with.
Yeah.
So even though we know it's a fable and a myth, at the end of the day, it is Esau. I'm not surprised if Esau will actually do this in real life. Get down, with a wolf. That's their thing. They kind of get off on that dealing with animals and their pets and things like that.
Hold on.
And we kind of see it all the time at camp on so-called Michigan Avenue. Everyone they come up and down with their pets and they walk their dog for some reason. I don't know why, but for some reason, every time you see an old white man and he's walking his pet, it's something wrong with the dog. Dog is missing a leg, right? Damn, ears cut off, is disabled, Now every other nation, no, they pets is fine, but every time we see an old Edomite with a pet, for some reason it's disabled in some way, shape, or form. So Esau, he gets down with these pets on the left hand side and these animals, and he's proud about it. Because only someone that's that proud about it would make it into their culture and their history, into an everlasting statue to this day. So that's madness. All right, but you got it.
I mean, this man married his dog. This man married his dog a month ago in California. This is real life. He got married to his dog. And then you got people marrying off their dogs. Like their dog found if their dog came home with with another female dog, he says, and he said, roof, I want to get married. And I guess the owners gotta, they gotta set up a marriage, and they invite all the other dogs in town, all the dogs in the neighborhood, and they come and they get their dog married. And the dogs have a honeymoon. They probably send them to the dog pound, and the dogs start to pound. Oh, all right, man. Let's get back to it, man. Damn dog pound, man. Damn pounding dogs, man. This place is evil. I hate this place. Larry Ross says, I hate this place. But this is where it comes from. Yes. Oh, it comes from Romulus and Remus, these Edomites, man. So this is the exaggerations, right? This is the exaggerations and the lies of the so-called white man and the suppression of embarrassing facts. The suppression of embarrassing facts. But Khan, you got it, King.
Khan, I want to go and get this quick precept. Yeah, that's right, man. Esau, he's a liar. Let's go to John, the 8th chapter. All right, John chapter 8, and the classic, verse number 44. Right. Slakia. Khan, this is the book of John, chapter 8 and verse 44. It says, ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in truth. That's the point I won't. He abodes not in truth. Someone that doesn't abide in truth, by default, they're abiding in lies. And some lies that you tell, it's not even necessary. Some, you got certain people, they just lie just because. They lie just because they can. Esau, he's one of those people that just lies for no reason. We was at camp one time. I don't know if you kind of remember this, like last year, I believe, 2 years ago. But we was at camp, and we was talking to Edomite, and we kind of asked him questions, and he kind of double talked. We said, did you lie? It was like, yeah. It was like, kind of asking him, why'd you lie? Just a regular question. It was like, I can't help it. So Esau, he can't help himself from lying and just spewing out madness. He could have easily came out and told the truth. I'm pretty sure the truth is not as bad as the folklore that they set up. Nevertheless, that just shows how demonic this nation is, to where they have to lie for literally no apparent reason. All right, you damn slept with a virgin, a god slept with a virgin. Damn, sons and daughters got raised up by a wolf. I mean, that's complete, utter madness of father. Right, reading on, it says, he was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh the lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. So not only is Esau a liar, but he's the father of all lies. The father of lying, the father of murder, the father of folklores. All these things, that's what ties in back to the so-called white man. The Romans, the Greeks.
Father of pedophilia.
Yeah, he's the father of everything on the left-hand side. They call him the father of bombs. That's what they call his name, Oppenheimer. Not Oppenheimer. The dude that made the so-called nuke. I believe they called him the father of all bombs. Right? The nukes that they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Mm-hmm. His name is slipping my mind. But yeah, they call him the father of all bombs. So he's the father of wickedness on the left hand side. But that's all I wanted on there, though. We go back to the get a Not an article. Made a head.
I was gonna pull up how they was going the decline. What happened now? Like how they kind of went into the Roman Empire,
Uh,
right? So going into the decline, right? How they transition. You may want to be wondering, how did they get to Julius Caesar, Caesar Augustus, right? Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, right? How did they get to these, these emperors? You read about Second Ezra, the 11th, the 12th, 12 feathers, right? Otho, Vitellius, Galba, right? All of these men. So when you go into it, let's see what I want. All right, Khan. So this is what I want, right? From the Education National Geographic.org. The Republic stood strong, right, for several centuries. However, as Rome's power and territory expanded, internal conflicts began to emerge as citizens and families struggled for power, right? So this is also their downfall, right? For example, in the first century BC, the famous Roman orator Marcus Cicero uncovered a plot by a Roman senator, Lucius Catiline, to overthrow the Roman government. Some citizens, such as Gracchus' brothers, attempted to institute government reforms and social reforms to help the poor. Ultimately, factions emerged loyal to either the patrician or plebeian classes or to a specific military general. Hostilities erupted and series of civil wars plagued the republic. So there was a whole bunch of civil wars, just like in America. There's going to be a civil war. Just like around, in Europe, they're always protesting. They're always burning some type of car. They're always flipping something, right? And it says during these civil wars, a prominent general and statesman named Julius Caesar, right, began gaining significant power. He commanded the loyalty of the soldiers in his army and enjoyed access to substantial wealth after conquering the province of Gaul. The province of Gaul is France, right? And it says the Senate, fearful of Caesar's power, demanded he give up command of his army, return to Rome as a citizen. That's the checks and balances. That's how you know your president doesn't really have power. They was trying to put Donald Trump in jail. They didn't want this man to take office. They said he has too much power, right? Caesar refused, instead marching his armies south directly into Rome. As a result, another civil war erupted between Caesar and his chief political rival, Pompey. You may have heard that name Pompey before. That was his political rival. Caesar emerged victorious and was named dictator for life. Previously, as we learned earlier, the dictator was only given to an appointed or a temporary leader in times of military emergency. That's only for about 6 months. But Julius said, I'm dictator for life. Other leaders within the Republic feared Caesar will become a tyrant with his new title. So to prevent this, a group of senators conspired and assassinated him. They killed this man because they feared his power. In response to Caesar's death, his nephew and heir Augustus, you may have heard that name before, defeated conspirators. He then established himself as the first Roman emperor. And you have this man Augustus, and a lot of the Caesars be prophesied in the Bible, right? Even before they were to come on the scene. Let me go to the book of Second Ezra. Right, I'm gonna go to the book of Second Ezra, chapter 11. Right, it's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 11. Start at verse 13. I'll start at verse 11. And I numbered her contrary feathers, and behold, there were 8 of them. And I looked, and behold, on the right side, and there arose one feather and reigned over all the earth. Right, talking about Julius Caesar. He's that dictator that Rome that reigned. And they feared his man's power. So what happened? And so it was that when it rained, the end of it came because they killed him. We just read that. And the place thereof appeared no more. So the next following stood up and reigned and had a great time. That's Augustus. Augustus was the first actual emperor of Rome, and he transitioned from a Roman Republic to the Roman Empire, right? And then it goes into the other Caesars that happened, right? Let me go to Luke chapter 2 and verse 1. This is also now during the time of Yahushua, because Yahushua lived during the time of the first emperor of Rome, which was Augustus, right? This is slowly coming out of the Hasmonean dynasty, right? So during the Hasmonean dynasty, that's on the Greek side. The Romans, remember, had the East. So Why all of that's going on in the Hasmonean dynasty? You got Herod being set up, right, and all of that, and you had the transition over there to the Romans. You had on the other side, the political side, where Julius Caesar was being transferred into, Augustus, and then, all these different men that were Caesars during that time. While the government was being set up, you had these things happening. So it's Luke chapter 2 and verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world shall be taxed. So Caesar Augustus is that man that taxed the whole world in Luke chapter 2 and verse 1 around the time, that Yahweh Shah was about to be born upon the earth. So you see how all these things link up? When you read the scriptures, you know what time period this is in. You know who ruled before this. You know what just had happened. You know what's about to happen next. It provides a lot more clarity to the scriptures. But that's this man. Hold on.
So I got a quick precept on that too.
You got it.
Okay, Khan. Yeah, dealing with Caesar, with Julius Caesar, well, namely Caesar Augustus during the time of the tax, and like the brother brought out, Luke chapter 2 and 1. We read verse 2. I'm gonna really get Acts the 5th chapter, but we read verse 2. It says, and this taxing was the first, right? Was the first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. So you go to Acts chapter 5 and verse 37. You also have rebellions during this time, which is why they end up assassinating him because of the power that he had with the taxation. So that's the book of Acts chapter 5 and verse number 37. After this man rose up Julius of Galilee in the days of the taxing. So you had a lot of rebellions during this time as well because of taxation, and he was the first emperor. So with that first emperor, with that proud spirit that he had on him and that dictatorship, he felt like he could just take money from all the citizens. From all the citizens. And Jake wasn't dealing with that. That's why you have Judas of Galilee, a Jake. He's seen his man coming to power, right? And it says, and drew away much people after him. So this man Jake or Judas, he drew away much people to follow after him to revolt of the taxation that was going on. It says, in all, even as many as obeyed him were dispersed, right? And all the people that he kind of brought together with him, they was put to flight. Because when you go into the history of this man Judas of Galilee, he tried to overthrow the Romans, right, through the taxation, and they was getting fed up, but he ended up getting put to flight because it was not a Most High. Same thing with that is we read verse 35 and verse 36. Tried to rise up with these different revolts because of the taxation, overthrow the Romans, but all that got put to shame. And that gives you the context on, this man as well, because it lets you know why they actually assassinated him, linking up with the Bible and linking up with the historical accounts that the brother just brought out. Right, but that's a quick point I wanted on that, though.
That's exactly right, man. That's exactly right. So it's important to know these things, man. It's important to know these things, especially like I said, with the start, end of empires, and it is very important. And kind of, we already went into this, the Carthage, Punic Wars, and large swaths of territory in Spain and Gaul, right? And it kind of goes over, let me read this real quick. The Roman Empire dramatically shifted power away from the representative democracy. So that Senate that we talked about, right? That Senate that we talked about, the rest of the scoffers, man. Satan, stop trying to take away the word. All right, stop trying to take away the word of the Lord, man. You see, we trying to learn something. Y'all have nothing better to do on a Sunday morning than get on the comment board. Go read. Go outside. Go look at the sun. We teaching some history, and you scoffing. If you're a man, don't you have a wife? Where's your wives at, man? What are you doing? Go cheer your family up or take some notes, right? Let's go back to it. Lord have mercy. It's vain, right? And it says, right, back to it. And it says, the Roman Empire dramatically shifted power away from the representative democracy, right, the Senate, to centralize imperial authority, right? To centralize, that's talking about the emperor, with the emperor holding most of the power. For example, under Augustus' reign, emperors gained the ability to introduce and veto laws. That's what you see now, right? And as well as command the army, right? So once you are president, you are now the chief executive officer over the army. So when you remember when Texas from, I don't know if you remember in January, February earlier this year, when Texas tried to they said basically they try to annex from the United States, and Florida said we have our own and all states try to send their national guard. Yeah. Joe Biden can federalize the National Guard and he can make them work for the government. Florida is the only state that you can't nationalize, you can't federalize the National Guard, right? But other than that, if a war kicks off, the president can stay in power as long as he wants, and he has command over the army. Meaning, when these tanks and martial law hits, that's going to be an executive order from the president himself on you Hebrew Israelites, which is us. Right. Furthermore, the emperor wielded significant authority over those who served in lower level executive positions. No citizen can hold office without the emperor's consent. As a result of this redistribution of power, the popular assemblies that functioned during the Republican period became less important and lost power. And that's what we see. And this kind of goes into the Roman Empire a little bit, which we will touch on, Lord willing, next week or the week after we get the period of the kings. But yeah, man, this is the decline of the Roman Republic, which lasted over 500 something years, and now we're getting into the Roman Empire, which you have Augustus, and you have our forefathers like Paul that lived during the time of Claudius and Nero, and we're going to touch on these men through the Spirit. So, all praise to the Most High. Do you have anything, King?
That's all I had on that.
Come get a precept real quick.
You kind of broke down the ending part. I was gonna get some on the decline of it, but you kind of broke it down already. It's plainly. All praise.
Let me get this real quick. Job 8 and 8. It's Job chapter 8 and verse number 8. And it says, just as the previous generation, pay attention to the experience of our ancestors in the New Living Translation. So that's what we have to do. We have to pay attention to the experience of our ancestors. You have to know the times that they lived in. We bring this out every week. You have to know the times they lived in. You have to know the wars that was going on during that time, the transition of empires. Like our forefathers lived during some grievous times, man. They lived during some real times. They didn't have a sedative lifestyle like how we live in America, man. They couldn't order DoorDash, man. They were fighting in wars. They were doing trades. We had men in high political positions. Like Daniel was the top president of Babylon. Esther was the queen under Xerxes IV. Mordecai was the next man in charge. Nehemiah was a governor. Zerubbabel, right? Joshua, the high priest. We had a lot of our men in high political positions. So it's not weird that we talk about politics when our forefathers dealt with a lot of politics, and they dealt with a lot of the government. Within the government through the Spirit. So just ask the previous generation and then pay attention to the experience of our fathers, our ancestors. Let me get this in Romans chapter 15.
And I got one after you.
This Romans 15. This Romans 15:4. Such things were written in the scriptures long ago to teach us. So think about it. We going into the history, but this is already in the scriptures. These things was already documented to teach us, man. And it's crazy how people can watch stuff like this, sit on a class like this, and then say the Bible is false, is written by man, is written by this, that, and the third. It's not a real book. This is a real contextual source. We're bringing out the history. It's meant to teach you. And the scriptures give us hope, right? And encouragement as we wait patiently for God's promises to be fulfilled. And that's what it does to us. As we sit here, it gives us hope, understanding that these things are actually real. We can read about this in history. It validates, it links up, it makes sense. The time periods, it's very conjoined together. There's no schisms. The things our fathers said, they're witnesses to these things happening, and not one of them lied like Esau. We don't have to have a fable. We don't have to have a legend. The Lord starts off legend. Let's say if the Lord, legend has it. No, it's real.
Right. Folklore tells about King David.
Yeah, Folklore Tales, Volume 1.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
this madness. This is real life. King David did these things. Judas heard about the fame of the Romans when they took down Spain. You know, but you got it.
Let's go to Psalms 143, verse number 5. Like the brother said, these precepts don't get brought out every week. These things that we gotta take to heart through the spirit. It's Psalms 143 and verse 5. I remember the days of old. I meditate on all thy works. I am mused on the work of thy hands. So we want to remember the days of old. I want to meditate, go back into history, see what our fathers did, because we're not going to learn this in school like how we say week in and week out. I've never learned about Hannibal being a so-called black man in school. I never learned about the Hasmonean dynasty and, where my people were throughout history. So this is, good lessons being brought out so we could know what we were doing during these specific time periods through the spirit. And the Lord has commanded us to remember the days of old. These are the days of old. Your history goes back prior to slavery. Your history is not just, transatlantic slave ships. Now your history all the way goes back to BC times. You want to figure that out. Learn what you did. Learn what your fathers did. Because if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going through the spirit. So that's the quick point I wanted to, bring out. You got it.
Khan, you got to know where you're going. You got to know your ancestors. You got to know the times they lived in. You got to know these time periods because we are Bible scholars. We are historians, man. This knowledge is our weapon. This wisdom is our weapons of warfare. These weapons of warfare is better than actual weapons of warfare, man. This wisdom is better than weapons of warfare. When you're able to go into the history confidently, you're able to pull the precepts and link it up. All praises to the Yah Bashim Yahushua. We able to edify and do these things, but Lord willing, you're able to edify now. You're able to teach the next brother and the next sister, these concepts through the spirit. But Khan, you got anything else, King? Khan, with that, we'd like to give our honor and glory and praise to Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right, we'd like to bid a mighty strong shalom.
Shalom.
Now, how long was that?